But I remember there was a blizzard one time in Denver. The buses stopped running, and my mom's bank job, even now thinking about the distance, it's a hell of a distance. And my mom had to walk home.
Yeah.
And my mom comes in, and you could tell she's kind of stressed out, like, oh, the buses aren't working. And I heard my mom crying. Yeah. Still hurts.
Yeah.
But that was it.
Yeah.
That was the day I was like, I'm going to do something big.
I think that you have this really extraordinary life story because you played serious D1 college basketball, Minnesota, Colorado State. You're a professional comic, which is very hard to do, to accomplish, to pull off. You work regularly at the biggest comedy club in the country, if not the world, Comedy Cellar. And you created a startup called Blapp that for Black-owned businesses, it's kind of like a Yelp or almost like an Amazon for Black-owned businesses. 3 different things that you're working at the highest level. And my question is, what do you use from each of them in the other on a day-to-day basis? What's the through line?
The through line is habits.
Habits. What do you mean by that?
I remember reading somewhere one time, and I do believe this is true, that if you wrote down what you do every day,
yeah,
even if I don't know who you are, whatever, the person was saying that they could almost predict your station in life.
Yeah, you are what you eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and it was no different when I was drinking. I was what I drank. And if I wrote down how many drinks I was having a day, you'd be like, this guy's probably headed to rehab.
And you quit drinking years ago.
Yeah. So and I went and I was in rehab 3-4 times. But now, so I think it's habits. I think from basketball, I learned that it's just the day to day. It's not pretty. There's no big, and there are only.
Oh my gosh. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah. And
it's
there's
not
only,
pretty.
It's
day
not.
to day to day to day.
That's it. It's one brick at a time.
Yeah.
So I think that would probably be the through line. But I remember, I used to live in Fort Greene, so I would run to Fort Greene Park to the top of the hill, and from there you could see One World Trade being built.
No.
Now, I couldn't, each day I would run up there. I know they're building because I had Googled it. I'd done all this research, and they said that there was an army of people working on this building every day. From where I was standing in Fort Greene Park, you couldn't see it.
Yeah.
And that kind of, to me, is the way that everything works.
Yeah.
The change is imperceptible.
Right. Now, One World Trade is gorgeous.
Yes.
Stunning.
And you can see it, every once in a while I could tell if I got to the top, I'd be like, oh, well, the crane was over there the other day.
Right.
So there was no window on that corner.
Yeah.
But that would happen maybe every 6 weeks. I could see something.
Yeah.
But the difference is imperceptible. We get on stage every night. It's imperceptible.
Yeah.
The changes that we're making.
It's like growing plants in the garden.
Yes,
it's
exactly.
Like growing shrubs.
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, it's a little tall.
Yes. And then you look up and there's this tree there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's no different. I mean, the startup. I mean, Mike, you when we were riding back from Jersey, you said, hey man, I believe in you. I want to help you out. But there was no app.
Right.
This is me. There was a prototype.
Blapp years ago.
Yeah. This is before there was
2020 or 2021.
Yes. And now here we are, years later, we are 2,116 downloads away from 100,000 downloads.
Wow.
So, and 100,000 downloads puts us in the top 3% of all apps ever created.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
What have your most challenging, both in comedy and with Blapp, what have been your hardest days? What's your inner monologue in your hardest days?
My toughest days, I don't know. I think my toughest days are probably always with white gatekeepers.
Oh?
Yeah.
Am I that?
No, you're just the opposite. You know how when black people say, and people are wondering, what is an ally? You are the prototypical ally.
Aw.
Yeah, the guy who really is like, hey man, I got some. First of all, I get what you're saying.
I
you know
get
I
what
mean?
you're up to. Yeah.
No, because some people, they're like, oh man, yeah, I know the struggle with black people, but you really do
I do
listen.
say that every day, 5 times a day.
You
It's true.
say that
Everybody
5
knows.
times a day.
I know the struggle.
You're like power to
That's
the
my
people.
catchphrase.
Birbiglia, I know the struggle.
I know the struggle. Like, Birbiglia, I know the struggle. Can you imagine if that was the name of my special?
I know the
I would
struggle.
just be over.
Oh
Immediately
yeah,
over.
you'd be totally over. But you really do like I said when we were talking about some of the conversations we had. We would have that doesn't mean we agree on everything.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. We don't agree on everything, but at least you were like, I do understand. I'm willing to acknowledge. Some people are just very dismissive. So I think that's it, man.
And you think it's a lot. Basically, what you run up against is typically white gatekeepers.
Oh, absolutely.
People in the tech world who are like, I don't see it.
Not that I don't see it. I didn't own any slaves. What if white people did this?
Oh, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And that was my first investor meeting. Was that? I hate
Well,
this.
Wait, where's the white
Yes.
whatever app?
Yes.
I don't know.
I hate Black Lives Matter. That's how we started the meeting.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. So those, I was
That
able
was
to.
wait, that was which meeting? One of your first investor
That was
meetings?
my very first meeting.
Wow.
Yeah, for money. And I was like, oh man, is it gonna go like, am
I hate Black Lives Matter?
That
What the person
he
said?
didn't say hi, nice to meet you.
What?
not hi, nice to meet you. The very first thing he said to me was, just so you know before we get started, I hate Black Lives Matter.
And of course you said I do too.
I know. Yeah, me too,
Yeah,
bro.
all lives matter. All lives
yes,
matter. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But so yeah, it's some of that. And then, of course I'm constantly getting the hey, I think this app is racist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because what if they had white people? And, to which my response is always the same. It's like, Blapp is a response to racism.
Yeah.
If there's anybody in the world that wishes that there was no Blapp,
Yeah.
it's me.
Yeah.
I am a smart, funny, intelligent,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, what do
Black
you need,
guy.
What do you need this for?
If all things were equal, I'd already be rich.
Yeah.
If there's anybody that wishes that we didn't have to do this,
Yeah.
it's this guy, because I'd be gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would be in Bermuda.
Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't be sitting here with your ass, Mike. That's for sure.
Just got downgraded. A second ago, I was an ally. Moments later, I wouldn't be here with your ass.
I wouldn't be sitting here with your ass, Mike. I'd be on a boat somewhere.
No, I think it's such a smart idea because it's so much of what we talk about with race in America is inherited wealth.
Yes, but see, this is what I'm talking about, Mike. But most people wouldn't. How many white people would ever say that?
I don't know.
Not very many.
I don't talk to white people. You know me. I don't talk to white people. Power to the people.
Power to the people, baby.
You've been working a little bit with Seth Barrish, who's my director.
Oh.
You've been doing a solo show workshop.
Amazing dude.
Everyone tells me it's great.
It's great.
Well, yeah. I mean, your life story is completely fascinating. I'm curious, your first one was basketball, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that was your first kind of, what got you there to that level? What got you, psychologically? I mean, what?
I think that one's pretty easy. You know what? The name of my company's Thanks Ma.
Thanks, Ma. I love it.
Yeah. So I think it's all one big thank you
it's your mom?
to my mother. Yeah.
I think about my mom like that all the time.
Yeah. I heard when I was younger.
Are we just a cliche though?
We are.
Because isn't that the thing though? That people are always just suckers for it's my mom
who
did
so.
it all and our dad didn't
I
do
don't
anything.
think so. You know why I say that? It's because we were at my dad's funeral, right?
Yeah.
Me and my dad weren't that close. I remember my dad, right? We're sitting there at the funeral and it's in a church.
Yeah.
And these old black women are cooking this soul food in the back like they always do at, black funerals and black churches. And I remember my dad was sitting there, he's up there in the casket or whatever. And I remember getting quiet. And my brother was like, are you okay? What are you thinking about? And I remember I whispered to my brother, I was like, that food smells good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's how close me and my dad were.
Yeah.
So and at that same funeral, my brother and my sister said, after the funeral was over, they come to me and they said, we had a talk, the two of us.
Yeah.
And we were like, if anything ever happens to mom, we would come get you.
Yeah.
Meaning they're close to my mom, but they were like, but this guy is a really, really, really would be tragically affected. So I don't think that my brother and my sister, I think they're close to my mom, but I think that I am a mama's boy like most people would be like, this guy is really, really. But I remember.
So what did your mom say to you that you feel like led to you having that kind of drive and focus?
I was home one day. The natural disaster in Denver used to be blizzards.
Mm-hmm.
Climate change, now it's fire.
Yes.
So there was a blizzard. I'm old enough that climate, I'm old enough to remember different climates.
You've done the cycle. You were around in the Ice Age.
I was around in the Ice Age, bro. And I remember the buses stopped working one night. My mom used to have 3 jobs. So she had a day job, night job, weekend job. She worked in a bank during the day, but I remember there was a blizzard one time in Denver. The buses stopped running, and my mom's bank job, even now thinking about the distance, it's a hell of a distance. And my mom had to walk home.
Yeah.
And my mom comes in and you could tell she's kind of stressed out, like, oh, the buses aren't working. And I heard my mom crying. Yeah. Still hurts.
Yeah.
But that was it.
Yeah.
That was the day I was like, I'm going to do something big. And then when I started playing ball, I played with a vengeance.
Wow.
And
I wouldn't want to be on the other end of that.
You probably wouldn't. You probably wouldn't. Yeah, I was a terror on the basketball court. But that day, like, my drive changed. But I think that was it for me, man. And somebody asked me recently, and she said, I'm having trouble with my kid and he's angry and whatever. And she said, I remember you telling me that you were angry at one point in time, you whatever. And she said, what changed that for you? And I said, I don't know that it's changed. I learned to channel the anger.
In other words, you're still angry about certain things. You're able to channel it into something positive.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I heard recently this, I thought, very wise thing that somebody said. They go, in a relationship, ask the person how they channel their anger or how their anger manifests. And if they say they don't have anger, get the hell out of there.
Yeah. Because you'll probably end up dead in the closet.
I think it's really smart. But how did you figure out? Let's say someone's listening to this, they have anger and they don't know how to channel it. Like, how do you figure out how to channel it?
You know what? I think I was blessed enough to have people around me, good people around me.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So my brother, my sister have been there during tough times. My high school coach, who's like my dad, you know what I mean? Coach Loman was like, hey, you can't be doing this. You can't be doing that. You gotta, take that energy and use it on the court. And then I started seeing the good that it could do, with the scholarships. And then, of course, I changed careers.
Yeah.
And then since I couldn't use that anger with basketball, it went into drinking.
Right.
You know what I mean? It found another outlet, the drinking and the drugging.
So you think drinking, the drinking came in between essentially basketball and comedy to fill a void? In between,
yes. Well, it came along with the comedy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then, of course,
you're working at clubs where they serve alcohol.
Where it's open bar.
Access is crazy.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was a rock star on the hood circuit before I, got onto the mainstream circuit. So you're off. We see each other essentially at a bar. It's a wonderful restaurant as well. But the Olive Tree all the time. Is it affect you seeing people drink? No. My drinking, man, like oftentimes, it had different bouts, but no. When I feel the urge to drink is victories. Any victory that I have, there's almost what's the word that I'm looking for? I almost feel entitled. So I would be more in danger not at an open bar or at some party where everybody's drinking and doing drugs. I would be more in danger when I check the iOS and the Android store, and we've crossed over 100,000 downloads.
What a loser. You're a nerd. You've become such a nerd.
Yes, bro.
No, when I want to drink,
not at the
check the iOS.
Not at the strip club, but 100,000 downloads. My brain on that day, like in a couple days.
Like I need a treat.
Yes.
I need a cupcake.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I earned it.
No, trust me, man. I recently had acid reflux that I got diagnosed with. I've been taking stuff for it, and I had to change my whole diet. And the one thing that one time it kills me is when I want a treat.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I'm not really supposed to have like pizza and this and cake and whatever. And it's like, I don't mind on a day-to-day, but every once in a while I'm like, oh, I finished 9 shows in 7 days. I want a piece of pizza. Like, no.
Right.
And it hurts.
Yes. You know what the good news is, though? It only hurts for a couple hours.
That's true.
It goes away. Like
Yeah.
once it comes up and I don't do anything, it pretty quickly goes back down.
That's interesting. So you live with it every day.
Yeah, it is a day to day. Fortunately, I don't think about it most days. I'm not, it's not that I don't have something so big happening that I feel like I deserve a drink every day.
Yeah.
But there's sometimes that things bubble up that it's like, but it is you're arresting it one day at a time for sure.
It's interesting. One of my jokes right now that I'm working on is for someone who isn't in AA, I say one day at a time quite often. I'm thinking of starting to drink just so I can get something out of this thing.
Oh, that's bad.
Isn't that good?
Yeah.
It's like, I think about that. I think about AA slogans all the time, and I've never been to AA.
Oh, man.
A lot of friends who've gone, and so I feel like I have a sense of it. But yeah, I mean, I think we're all living with some degree of that.
Yeah, and I mean, people have lots of other issues, man.
Do you talk about alcoholism ever on stage?
Yeah, absolutely.
How's it received?
It's received probably better than anything.
Oh, really?
That I talk about on stage.
Do you think that, because I know that you're developing like a one-person show or your special, like, do you think it'll be in there? Do you think it'll be in
Absolutely.
that? Yeah.
But I mean, it colored so much of my life also. I mean, at least the middle part, at least the comedy part.
Yeah.
But I mean, I told a story about a time that I was on stage, blackout drunk, still don't remember.
Oh, wow.
I'm on stage crying.
Really?
Yeah. And of course, like I said, I turned it into a joke, but I mean, so much of that, like it got really dark, but I got tons of DMs from people saying, hey, I think I have a problem. And I always encourage people because I will say this also, the theme song, right? The song that's playing in your head the whole time when you're in the throes of addiction. And I don't care where you are, what you're doing, whatever. We all have this in common, is that you feel like no one understands what I'm going through.
Yeah.
No one understands how terrible this situation.
That is so true.
Yeah. But yeah, my alcohol, I mean, some of those type of stories would absolutely, because I started telling like some more shallow stories. Right. And a friend of mine said, that's not going to help people. You really have to tell people the depths, the times that you were suicidal, the times that you were crying on stage. Yeah. That will resonate with people, because that level of darkness, people are like, oh, me too.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Not jokes about drinking out of kegs and the superficial stuff that I was doing. But once I shine the light on the dark, people really, really, really responded.
Have you ever talked about your dad on stage?
No. I mean, other than,
you think it's too deep?
I don't think it's too deep. I just think that it's me making up some relationship that never really existed.
It's just that he wasn't around.
Even when he was dying at the end, so the last 2 years of his life, I was going up there to try to, hey, let's chum it up, and I wanted to know about what he was like when he was younger, what him and my mom's relationship, and he just never opened up to me.
Was he in like a care home?
No, he stayed at home until he died. Yeah, in his own home.
But he knew.
Oh yeah, because it was. The cancer was affecting his breathing, so he couldn't move around anymore. And then he had oxygen
Yeah.
And then he had to sleep with oxygen, and you know what I mean? Those last couple months, the trips to the hospital.
Yeah.
So absolutely. But I had made a concerted effort to go up there and say, let me do I don't want to be in his funeral saying I just was bitter to, anyone who knows me knows I'm a pretty happy guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't want to be bitter to the end, but he never ever, he still spoke to me like in one sentence, like one word answers kind of.
Yeah.
Like.
What are you, it's like, when you are bitter, which you're not bitter a lot, what gets you? What makes you jealous, annoyed?
I think like watching, like the country right now is in a great place for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's one way of putting it.
You know what I'm saying? The country is in a place. Like if you say to me, man, I think that if you are a felon, it's going to be more difficult to get a job, right? I'm from the hood. I'm from a gang banging, dope dealing drive-by. That's what it was when I was growing up, right? So a lot of my friends over the years, felonies.
If they're felons, they're probably going to have a hard time getting a job.
Yes.
Yeah.
We could, you know what? That you can go back and forth because some people will be like, well, some felons, but there's a debate there.
Yeah.
But what you don't get to do is say felony, bad, no job. But 34 felonies still qualifies you for the best job on earth.
Yeah.
That to me is the thing that is just like, oh yeah, rape, bad.
Yeah.
Rape, highest job that wasn't real. You know what I mean?
It's that old saying. It's like don't steal $1,000, steal $1 million. It's just the craziest thing.
It's so sad. And knowing that now my nephews and nieces have to also, it's almost like watching your nephews and nieces being like, oh yeah, that's right. You are black.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You would think that by now those kids wouldn't have the same awareness that I did.
Right.
You know what I mean? My nephew was just laughing. Like, could you imagine if a black dude sat there?
And your nephew's like a teenager.
Yeah. He's a teenager.
Yeah.
And even he gets it. Oh, I'm black. I can't do that.
Yeah.
I can't do what these white dudes. There's no way in the world I could. Barack Obama sat there, or if me and my nephew's pretty big now, like if me and 1,000 black dudes ran up on some cops and beat them we'd be dead.
Yeah.
But the idea that even he understands that now is, so those days are a little tricky. You know what I mean? Where I'm not as upbeat.
Right, you feel the personal side.
Yeah.
It's personal. It's not just this abstract kind of this guy committed a bunch of crimes and he's running for president. It's like
leading.
It's like if
leading the race.
Yeah, if I did this, I wouldn't get a job
leading the race.
Kroger.
Can you imagine if Barack had 34 felony counts?
No, I could not.
Adjudicated rapist?
No, I could not imagine that.
His companies were found fraudulent, put out of business. His charity was put out of, you know what I mean?
No, any of this stuff.
Giuliani's now been disbarred. Can you imagine if Barack showed up with 8 or 9 guys that were convicted of felonies?
It's interesting. I mean, it is
with on his third baby mama. Yeah. If Barack showed up with some woman who barely spoke English, right?
Yeah,
it's a joke.
No, I know. It's fascinating.
And then the Supreme Court said after that, it's okay as long as you call it a party or whatever they called it.
Yeah.
Official duties is what they call it.
Yeah.
Official president, which means find a way to make it.
To say it.
Yes.
To say that's what it is.
And we'll let it ride.
Woo.
So those days, you wake up and you see this in your face is like, damn, y'all just going to do it out in the open.
And that's the ad for Blapp. That's why you got to support black-owned
Blapp.
Businesses. Yeah. Download Blapp to get to 100,000 downloads, and John's going to go drink some whiskey.
It'll be black-owned whiskey. Shout out to Uncle Nearest.
All right, this is the slow round. What are people's favorite and least favorite thing about you?
Making plans has got to be the least favorite thing. And again, my schedule, man, is literally Blapp centric.
Yeah.
So I had plans. I was supposed to hang out with some friends actually later the other night in Denver.
Oh.
and I'm headed to the airport.
Right.
And don't feel I feel nothing. Like it's not like I'm like, oh, sorry guys. I'm like, I think you understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, that this is more important. So yeah, making plans, man, is and I remember watching some startup founders at a fireside chat at this tech summit that I went to out in Silicon Valley. And the host said, in one word, describe your early startup founder experience. And write it down, slide into the middle of the table. Turned it over. All of them lonely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is it is and I remember watching that like, well, I got a life. I'm a comedian. No, it's lonely. You know what I mean?
Really interesting.
Yeah, because I'm not a tech fan, so I'm, it's a constant learning curve. And you are really spending all of your waking hours. How do I improve this? There's never a day that it's right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's got to be better tomorrow than it was today. Just like, watching the building going up. There's work going on at all times.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that.
You ever think about giving up?
No. I'm not a give up kind of guy.
It's just not it's not what you do.
I'm just not really cut from that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm not. That's not an option.
Yeah.
You know what makes it also easier for it not to be an option? And this is probably one of the things that people like about me is I've always said that, lots of people have initiative. I prefer people, or I would like to think of myself as someone who has initiative. So I think that is something that people would say that they do like about me. If Jon says he's going to do it, it's probably going to get done.
Did you invent finitiative?
I did.
I love that. I'm going to use that. I have finitiative too.
You do. That's right.
Yeah. Although it's tricky. Sometimes you have to know when to have finitiative, and then you have to know when to cut it off.
Yeah.
You got to be like, nah, this isn't meant to be finished.
Yes. And there's some things, there's relationships, there's stuff like that. But Blapp is never fallen into that. You know what I mean? That this is a stay the course situation for sure.
One time when you were on this podcast, you were talking about that it's like an unusual skill, and yours was to find cocaine.
Oh, yeah.
What was the strangest drug situation you've ever witnessed on the road or at a club?
The strangest drug situation.
I've been doing a joke lately about how I'm such a straight-laced person, like in the way that people perceive me, is like I've never seen cocaine. And I'm like, I work in nightclubs. They're basically cocaine factories. And no one even thought I should view it.
Yeah.
It's like working at General Mills and they're like, we shouldn't show them Cheerios.
Dude, I don't know. You know what's crazy though? I don't think it's as bad as it used to be. It seems like Gen Z's a little more straight-laced.
I think that's true.
Right?
Statistically, it's true, yeah.
Yeah. The craziest drug situation. I think, man, maybe, I don't want to give away this guy's. You know what? I don't think he would mind. I'm in Boston one time. And, this is the party version of me. So there's a show at the Comedy Connection downtown.
Yeah. Right
down the hallway is an after party.
Yeah.
Which was like gold. Because now everybody just saw you. All the women, it get pretty interesting. And I leave and it's me and these two girls. It was one of those nights.
I'm not familiar. Say more about that. Say it slowly.
So the promoter, he used to send a limo. So I'm outside in a limo with these two girls, right? We're drinking, we're whatever, frolicking, we're having a good time. And I said out loud, I said, you know what would go good with this? And they were like, what? And I was like, if we just had some ecstasy.
Oh my God.
I know. The limo partition comes down. And the driver opens up this box of Altoids.
This is crazy.
And reaches over the partition, Mike. We all grab an Altoid, and now we're high as a kite. And then he rolls the partition back
I
up.
mean, that's bananas.
Yes. And I rode around with them high as a kite, of course, for like the next 4 or 5 hours. But I'll never forget, because I didn't even know, you're not even thinking this guy's listening.
Right.
We're in the back of the car doing what we're doing. I said, yo, what will go good? I said, man, if we just had some exit.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But I think that was probably one of the craziest drug stories,
I
man.
think that's the best answer we've had for that one.
We do pretty good with these story things, right? Mike, you drag good stories out of me, stuff that I've never talked about.
That should be on stage.
Yeah.
That's a perfect example of a story you should put on stage.
Yeah. I've never, ever told that story.
The visual. Yeah. That's nice. All right. I'll end the slow run on this, which is, do you remember a moment of pure joy in your life?
I remember the first time that I got a car. So my high school coach, like I said, who's like my dad, him and my cousins put some money up, get my first car.
Yeah.
I think it was like $500.
Yeah.
Right, a brown rabbit. Yeah. And I drove my mom to work.
Oh.
It's probably the best day of my life.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Drove her to the bank.
Yep. Drove her to the bank. Sat there and cried. I was crying so long that she probably got off work. I was probably still sitting there crying.
That's beautiful.
Like, hey, I can drive you home now.
And it was joy because you were able to be helpful to your mom.
Yeah.
From something that you earned.
Yeah. I learned, though, years and years ago that I know this is going to sound kind of cheesy, but if you ask me what my top 10 most joyous moments of them, none of them have much to do with me.
I feel like I witness this with you all the time. You're kind to everybody who we hang out with at the Comedy Cellar. Can you think of a specific moment of kindness you had with someone where you actually felt a deep connection with a stranger?
Yo, I was at they lock the ATMs now because people were sleeping in there.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So I go in there, it's late, and there's this guy in there. It's freezing. It's freezing outside. Yeah. The guy says, hey, man, you got a couple dollars? No, I'm sorry, man. And my Uber dropped.
Yeah.
So now the next Uber's not coming for 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And so me and this guy are sitting there talking. He's like, yeah, man, I'm trying to find a job, whatever. This hasn't worked out. I've been sleeping out in the streets. It's freezing out here. And then I started asking him, well, what was your last job, whatever. And we kind of bonded, right? I was like, this guy,
yeah,
there's probably more to it, but in the moment,
he's had some bad bounces.
He's had some bad bounces.
Relatable person.
Yeah, man.
Bounces, yeah.
Then he just starts bawling.
Oh.
Yeah, and he says, man, no one ever really listens to anything that I say. Thanks for listening. And I was like, oh my God, man, wasn't that big of a deal. I didn't tell him my Uber dropped, but part of it was, hey man, I'm just waiting for this goddamn car. So I pulled like $300 out of the ATM, right? And I said, hey man, here's $20. Most of the time when you give people money, they don't really look down.
Right.
They just,
sure.
they say thank you, and I go outside and I get in the Uber. Yo man, this motherfucker. You see him looking around, right? He comes running out of the bank. I'm already in the car. He comes running out of the bank, and you see him looking around. He finally makes eye contact with me. He sees me in the back of the Uber, and he chases the Uber up 6th Avenue. Like, thank you, man.
Oh.
Thank you. Yeah, right? The guy driving the Uber said, yo, man, what the fuck did you do to that guy?
It's like the end of Trading Places.
Yeah, exactly, man. But that was... it was so good to see that dude's expression. I try to give people, a lot of times, man, when people ask me for money and I know they're going to be standing there, right? Until they get the $10 or the $7, whatever they need. I always try to give people sometimes, man, enough money that they can just be done.
Yeah.
So that I wanted to give this guy enough money that because he was like, man, I could take $30 and I could get a room tonight. It's cold. So I picked $300. So I know you can get a room. Yeah. You know what I mean? and you don't have to stay in this damn ATM. He could just be done for the night.
Right.
We all know that feeling where you're like, I'm good.
Right.
I wanted him to have that feeling,
Right.
but I didn't know he was going to chase the goddamn car up the street to say thanks. I got a kick out of that.
You ever feel? I mean, you're such a big guy. It's like, do you ever feel intimidated on the subway? Because I feel intimidated on the subway, but I feel like you couldn't. You're so big.
Yeah. Let me let you know a little secret. Really big black guys are just as scared as little white guys.
I didn't say I was little. You just said I was little, and I really take umbrage at that. I think this is over. I think this podcast is over.
Part of never getting hit. Let you know a big black guy secret is to look like you ain't scared of shit. On the inside, we're little white men too.
Oh, that is so funny.
Sit there with your arms folded like you're going to slap the shit out of somebody. People will be like, you know what? I'm not going to try him. Yeah.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
Well, and you always have to be, I mean, it's the reality. You always have to be afraid of the cops.
Oh, yeah. That's something totally different. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole different thing.
Oh, yeah. It's a whole different
And that's
thing.
on the subway all the time now.
Yeah.
The cops are on the subway all the time.
But it's not, I mean, cops like in a confined space like that, it's probably not as scary as, you know, the situations where I was having interactions with the cops all the time. Because if you're out west, man, you live in Denver or Dallas or, you know, these places, you know, Little Rock, Arkansas, they're just stopping you in your car.
Yeah.
You know,
there's no one else around. It's you, the cop, the car.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and then, let me see your license. And at any point in time, you know, they could say, I thought he was reaching for something.
Yeah.
So that's when it's dicey.
Well, you know. I had a story recently that it's funny. I wasn't even gonna think to tell you but then I was just like, we're talking about it now. And I don't know where exactly the comedy beats are in this story yet, but I feel like it's gonna make its way on stage someday, which is I'm driving Jenny and Oona to visit my parents in Rhode Island, and all of a sudden there's traffic. Holiday weekend, all of a sudden there's traffic. There's a merge. To not hit the guy in front of me, I go into the breakdown lane.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, there's a cop behind me. You know, I'm back in the regular lane, but there's a cop behind me, and I'm thinking, he's not pulling me over. He's probably going to something else.
Right.
And so I pull to the left, and he comes up next to me. He's furious, and this has happened like a month ago. He pulls down his window.
And it's like, pull it over.
Get on the right. You know, it was like a 4-lane highway. I had to get way across traffic.
Yeah.
And I go over, and the guy just bawls me out in front of my wife and daughter. And he doesn't bring a ticket. He goes, I explain what happened. I go, I was trying to, get out of the harm's way and just be safe. And he goes, no, you were using the breakdown lane to pass people. No, I wasn't.
Right.
He goes, I have it on video. I go, you have me passing someone in the breakdown lane on video? I would doubt that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he got angrier and angrier. And that's when I realized cops hate white people too. But that's the only joke I have so far. But he gave me a summons. He didn't even give me a ticket. Gave me a summons for court in Rhode Island.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
I said to him, I don't even live in Rhode Island. It's a summons. Can I do a ticket? No. Anyway, long story short, I'm driving home from Rhode Island. This is the first interaction my daughter's ever seen. I'm just very upset. She's 9, very upset seeing me bawled out by this cop. We're driving back from Rhode Island like 2 days later, and we're in the drive-thru at McDonald's, and there's a cop car behind me, and I just get nervous. I'm like, okay, I gotta make sure I drive right, blah, blah, blah.
Welcome, brother.
Yeah, welcome. Yeah. 10 and 2, so that's right, yeah.
And now you're an honorary black man.
But yeah, so I got a summons. I have a summons in my hand, basically.
Yeah.
So if he runs my plates,
Yeah.
he's gonna see I have a summons. So I'm like, okay, I gotta make sure I play this right.
Yeah.
I gotta do this real, go
Yeah.
right.
That's how we
speed.
feel since we were 16.
Yeah, I have no sympathy for that. But no, I'm just kidding.
That's your problem.
No. But in my situation, no. So I'm driving. So I get back on the highway, and the cop pulls up behind me, and his light goes on, and I was almost on the verge of tears. I'm like, no, I'm going the right speed limit.
Right.
I'm doing it all right. I pull over. He walks up. He goes, "You forgot your credit card at the McDonald's."
Oh.
He hands it to me, and I go, "I don't think they do that for black people." So I thought maybe on stage I could put that on stage. I don't know.
But yeah, that's the feeling that you have about cops your whole life.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Your mom teach you that?
No, we just learned that from them stopping us all the
Right.
time.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
you know what? We were like, when I say, people understand when I say we were poor. My mom didn't drive.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah, we
get
didn't
it.
even have a car, so
No,
my
I
mom
get it.
wouldn't have known that.
Yeah.
That's not something that she'd have thought
Yeah.
of. But I mean, they were just stopping us for literally anything. We were constantly being stopped by the cops.
Yeah.
But yeah, and
These
then if you it only takes one wrong move for them to
No,
say,
Yeah.
Of
course.
yeah. And like when you said stuff that gets me down, like the Supreme Court decision is, if you're doing whatever they're calling it now, official whatever works.
White House business. Yeah.
But they're also trying to roll back, what you can do after a cop shoots you. A lot of that
Yeah.
police reform they're trying to
Yeah.
roll back. So, it's basically like if this guy shoots you and he says it's in the line of duty, you're just shot,
Yeah.
Yeah. But think about this. Just stop and think about this. We watched, which is where Blapp came from. We watched George Floyd be choked in the street, right?
Yeah.
But stop and think about this. We watched a guy put a knee on this guy's neck until he died. The cop goes to court. Do you know that on the day prior to the verdict, they boarded up vendors or restaurateurs and people who had businesses in downtown Minneapolis, boarded up their businesses
In advance. Yeah.
Yeah. But just stop and think about that. We all, with our own two eyes, watched a man be killed in broad daylight, and they were so confident that he would go to jail that they were like, that might not be enough.
Yeah.
We literally watched a modern day lynching, and people were still so confident that what we saw was enough that they were like, let me board this shit up. That still might not be enough.
Wow.
Yeah. So on those days, it's like, you're not so I'm not as happy-go-lucky as normal. But the idea that these folks would board their shit up was like, hey, you might still get off.
Yeah.
Because if imagine if someone choked a white woman like that to death, no one would have boarded their shit. He was like, motherfucker, going to jail.
Yeah.
You're going to jail.
Yeah.
But the idea that it was a black dude laying there, I better board my shit up.
This has been sponsored by Blapp. Blapp is the best app for supporting black-owned businesses in America. The last thing we do is working out for a cause. Is there an organization that you think does a good job, a nonprofit that you like to support, and we will contribute to them and link to them in the show notes?
I think the United Negro College Fund.
Okay, we will contribute to the United Negro College Fund, uncf.org. Jon Laster, you're a joy to talk to. I can't wait to see your next hour. I can't wait to see where Blapp goes. And I'm just thrilled to be your friend.
I'm thrilled to be your friend.
All right, pal. Thank you.